Our next guest this afternoon is no stranger to Message magazine, because if you followed Message for a few years ago, we had every week an installment by Dr. Kim Logan-Nowlin. I always do it backwards.
It's okay.
The Drama Files,
Yes.
okay, because she has the experience. She counsels people. Kim Logan-Nowlin, PhD, and you should see the string of credentials that come after her name. Dr. Kim, as I call her, is a well-respected and sought-after speaker and counselor, and she's a mother. And when I first met her, I met her and her beautiful husband, Arthur Nowlin. The two of them penned several books together, and they were co-hosts on several relationship programs that I used to watch on 3ABN. Isn't that right?
That's
Is it
right.
Hope Channel as well?
Yeah, the 3ABN Oakwood channel, and now Dare to Dream.
And now Dare to Dream, that's right. And so God has been so good to this woman. She's helping people. And so Dr. Kim, I wanted to talk to you today because this week in particular, we're here in the second week of May, 2024. And what's been going around, and I'm not going to mention names, but if you're on social media, you've been seeing some folks where there's a relationship that has broken down between a father and his children.
Yes.
And the father has sort of distanced himself. I believe he's married now, has children in a blended family, but the prior children sort of got the strong arm and the stiff arm. And I'm talking about this gently because we know these people. We go back with these people. But this is a conversation that needs to be had for every family. Because you got a father and mother and children, and how we relate to our children is so important because it's long lasting. Talk to me, Dr. Kim, about this. I mean, you go through this Drama Files. We talked so many times about relationships and marriages that ended up not where we thought that they would be. But talk to me about the impact, first of all, of that split on the children, be they adults or children.
It's having an impact nationally. It's bringing up old wounds with children and families because it's been unresolved. People are broken. And now the situation is bringing such a tragedy and trauma to the nation because it's become such a public, situation. I think people need to understand that when individuals abandon their children, and no matter what we do, that God never abandons us. He never rejects us. And as human people, no matter what we do, no matter what our children do, no matter what we did when we were children, my parents didn't abandon me. They didn't reject me. So psychologically, there is some things going on within this family that's been there for a long time and now is reaching the surface. But the problem is it has never been dealt with. It's never been, it's been dealt with under the surface, been masked. A lot of times people are masking their problems. It looks good on the outside, but when we get behind closed doors, there are problems. Now, this situation is coming out, but it's been dealt with without psychological counseling and help. Individuals on radio have talked about being a support system. We need to be a support system to these children and other individuals who have gone through this, who feel like this. They're not the only ones. It's just highlighted because of who their father is. So we need to understand. I remember when Arthur met me. Can I go personal for a minute?
Please, go ahead.
Arthur had a son. And in that, and I had a daughter, in that recognizing that the two of us being a blended family, but not one time did Arthur ever abandon Jason. Jason was my son, like Micah was his daughter. Then together we had Aaron. But we never neglected Jason, never neglected Micah. I remember one time we were out in Huntsville and the girls needed Apple Watches. So we all ended up with Apple Watches. Do you know, as soon as we got back, Arthur said, let's go. I said, where we going? He said, we're going to the Android store. I've got to go get Jason. I said, for what? He said, for a watch.
Mm-hmm.
We have them, the girls have them, he will have them. Something that's simple.
Mm-hmm.
But he realized that could not exclude him. And what we have to recognize, we cannot exclude family members. This is your blood, this is your DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So God made. God says children are a gift of the Lord. And so therefore, when we begin to pull back the layers of mental health, there
Mm-hmm.
is some issues there of mental health that need to be addressed. There are issues of abandonment, rejection, or what do you need of, Dad, that you got to be validated without your children?
Okay, so now I'm gonna interject here because first of all, I don't know everything that went on behind closed doors, and I don't know the origins of the family, and I don't know, and I can't say, neither one of us can say whether or
That's right.
not there was, what specifically happened. I guess, but I used to work in court, in family court, and you are counseling families all the time, and so
All the
there's some
time.
things that you see that recur when relationships sour, right? And so number one, you got the people in the primary relationship when
Right.
things go sour, and then you have this thing that sort of flows over into the children.
That's
so
correct.
so my question first of all is
Okay.
that when you are in a relationship, God forbid, but it happens, and it's, people are breaking up and you're headed for divorce.
Mhm.
What are some of the things that you can do, as angry as you may be,
Mhm.
or as hurt as you may be? What checks can you put on yourself so that there's not further collateral damage?
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean by that?
I understand. Yes. But first of all, you've got to be transparent. You got to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be honest with yourself. You got to be honest with the family members, and you got to be able to talk about it. And if not, you're going to have to bring in a support system to help you talk about it. That's why we have mental health therapists, counselors, doctors to help people. Number two, I've got to understand how to value what I have. We shouldn't be tearing our children apart. We should be a source of support for our children where we can love them equally and they can feel good about that. Even though we're going through a divorce, can we help them feel good about who they are? So we want to be transparent. We want to help them to value who they are. Don't allow them to carry the blame. We made the decision to end this relationship,
Mm-hmm.
or one of the parties did. Number three, we have to be very careful of how we are projecting. What is the image we're projecting?
Mm-hmm.
To our children, to our family loved ones. We got to be careful with that. All right. Number four, we have to be careful not to allow outside entities to come in and dictate who we
Mm-hmm.
are and what we are and what we
Yeah,
are to each other. We've got to
right.
be careful with that. We have to, number five, you got to set some boundaries. You
Mm-hmm.
must set boundaries on what you're going to listen to, what you're not going to listen to. And that's in any relationship in family. And then I've got to be careful how I am going to display myself before my children,
Mm-hmm.
before others is very comfortable. Just like when Arthur died, I could have fallen apart, stopped taking care of myself, but I didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And the eyes of people were on me and my
Right.
children. And so therefore I knew, because I was a public figure, I had to be mindful of that. So
Mm-hmm.
do I get relaxed? Can I get relaxed behind closed doors? But
Mm-hmm.
in the public eye, I had to be mindful of that. So we
Mm-hmm.
need to be transparent, how we value, how we validate. We have to remember what the image we're projecting, how the message is being conveyed is very important
Mm-hmm.
to our children, spouses. What am I trying to do? What am I trying to say? And
Mm-hmm.
then I want to heal from this brokenness, and hopefully we can come out of it being a family. Even though you may have a new family, can we
Mm-hmm.
still? Because Jason is my son. And do you know what?
Mm-hmm.
When his father died,
Mm-hmm.
his mother died 16 months after Arthur did.
Oh no, I didn't know
And
that.
I went and sat with her. And
Mm-hmm.
I thank God for the relationship we had and that she had with Micah and Aaron, and
Mm-hmm.
that I treated her son well and he loved me. And even at the homegoing service for Arthur, Jason got up and said, I love my mother, but
Mm-hmm.
mom, you took good care of my father, Mama Kemp.
Mm-hmm.
You did right by my father and you loved me. And my mother never said at any time I was her stepson.
Mm-hmm.
Jason was my son.
Yes.
So
Okay.
therefore, I always, to this day, I tell people I have 3 children,
Mm-hmm.
Mike, Aaron, and Jason. I do not exclude him. That would break Arthur's heart for
Mm-hmm.
me just to ignore that Jason is still here. And I am his only living parent now, his only living parent.
Yes, yes. So now when I'm hearing, one thing that I'm pulling from what you're saying that is of particular um uh that has particular implications today is the transparency. Back in the day when everything fell apart, your close circle knew about it or the people right here. But now people are on social media and talking about this. And so I'm hearing you say your transparency is between you, your partner, the children, or the family, and the therapist, possibly, or the counselor. But
Yes.
after that, isn't it a matter of you're putting stuff out there that you can't come back from?
You cannot, once you ring that bell, you cannot unring that bell. Once you do that, it's out there. And you
Mm-hmm.
have to be mindful of that. And so, therefore, the tone, the message of that tone, when you look at people, even the nonverbal and the verbal communication, you cannot be on social media tearing down your children. You can't do that because someone said today, those children that you have definitely abandoned may be the one you may need a bone marrow from. You may need a kidney transplant from.
Ooh, and see, I'm not even using the word abandoned, but what I will ask you though okay, I hear what you're saying, but just like spouses may come to a breaking point, sometimes there are families and family members that are estranged,
Right.
right? And it sounds like you're, across the board, it sounds like you're saying, you can't do that with your children, but maybe
Mhm.
there comes a time when, you're not going to see eye to eye and they're adults and you have to go your separate ways, don't you think?
It happens, but it's how you go your separate ways.
Okay.
Make sure that you leave a situation where you can return no matter what. When I get off the phone with my daughters at night, especially my youngest one, I try to make sure we have a very calm, peaceful conversation because it could be the last conversation.
Mm.
And we have to be mindful of that because no man knows the hour. And
Mm-hmm.
so, therefore, how I enter that conversation, it could be left if I die that I rejected her, I
Mm.
abandoned her, I left things undone and unsaid.
Okay.
So we need to be mindful of that. How and what message we're sending. And social media, we've got to be careful, people, that what we put out there and what we say about people, you've got to be mindful because we don't live within their walls. We don't know everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have
Right.
the whole story.
All right.
Just like
Here's
we
my
don't know our whole story.
Right, right. Well, Dr. Kim, here's my last thing. And I know there's got to be some silver lining. You've seen some tore down, messed up relationships.
Yes.
And I gotta think that, there's some times when there's been reconciliation when you did not think that was possible. I'm hoping so. Talk to me. Where does that come from? And if you are in a situation where there's no hope, mother, daughter, father, son, brother, sister, where, just haven't spoken in years or, the hurt is too deep, what can happen and how?
Let me say this, no matter what the relationship, if you have an ounce of love for that person, an ounce, you can be healed in that relationship. I have been in court where people are getting ready to be divorced, and I've seen one or the other say, "Stop, I don't want this." But we had to get all the way here to do that
Mm,
because of pride, because of being, in a place where I didn't know how to apologize. I didn't know how to ask for forgiveness. I didn't know how to work through this. But all you have to do is come. And some people just don't know how to come and ask for help.
Yeah.
It comes through Christ. It comes through prayer. It comes through you having a heart where you say, I have to let this go and forgive. Because there's nothing too hard for God, and there's nothing that God cannot forgive. So
Mm,
we should have a heart of forgiveness, even though that person crushed us, hurt us. I remember someone borrowed some money from Arthur and I.
mm,
He said to me, when I went to collect the money, do you know what
mm,
they said? I thought the debt died when Arthur died. Baby, I was just outdone. And I said, you know what? You keep it. You need it
yeah.
more than I do.
Mm,
But I set some serious boundaries.
mm-hmm,
But I was hurt. And when I saw that person, I still spoke to that person because I'm not
mm-hmm,
going to jeopardize my soul's salvation.
mm-hmm,
But that person knows there's some serious boundaries. If
mm,
that person came to me again, I don't know what I would say, but that door has not been
mm,
open. So we have to look at number one, I'm going to know, I understand I'm broken. Number
mm-hmm,
two, I want to pull back the layers because I don't want to feel this way anymore.
mm-hmm,
I've been in situations where I've reached out to people who have hurt me, and people are like totally closed off. And
mm-hmm,
when they come to me, I'm open, but it takes time. It
mm,
has to be in their timing. And you have to be gentle with people. And hopefully, we will live to be able to work through that forgiveness and be honest and open.
mm,
Be willing to accept their forgiveness. Be humble and
yeah.
allow the Lord to receive the glory because there's no glory for God if we cannot heal through this situation.
Oh, wow. This is so good. You know what? We got a lot of drama. We're gonna have to come back to you from
Yes,
time to time if you don't mind,
anytime,
Dr. Kim.
anytime,
But
anytime.
in the meantime, I think this is this situation, and I'm sorry, and I'm praying for the family, all
Yeah,
the family,
yes,
that, because God can work through this and He can
yes,
change this
yes,
and He can get the glory from Him. And I'm praying for those who are hurt. People may be looking on right now and say, that strikes a bell or it triggers them because they
yes,
remember how things went. Um,
yes,
when they felt forgotten or they
yes,
felt pushed aside or they felt demeaned. And so, my
yeah.
prayers are for people like that today who are feeling some kind of way behind this. But in the meantime, thank you, Dr. Kim.
Oh,
Her,
you're
you need to
welcome.
catch her most recent book, Emotional Affairs. Is that right?
Yes, emotional affair, a dangerous road. Get off that road.
Yes, you can. Can you find this on Amazon? Where can you find
It
it?
will be out early summer, and you will be able to get that around June, July. And then we're excited about it. And we have two other new books, a children's book coming out dealing with grief,
Mm-hmm.
and another book dealing with the legacy of love. And I'm telling the story of my love story with Arthur. Yes.
It is such a beautiful story.
Thank
And
you, sweetheart.
he'd be like looking at you like, you better go, Kim. I see you.
Listen,
Thank you
listen.
so much for
Thank
taking the
you.
time.
All right. Bye bye, sweetheart. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.